Have you ever loved a woman who made you feel small without saying a single word? Not by insult, not by rejection, but through silence, through distance. A woman who made you feel like you were always reaching, and she was always out of reach. She wasn't cruel, but she wasn't warm either. She didn't hurt you directly, but her absence did. You tried to decode her silence. You tried to break through her calm, but nothing worked. And slowly, a part of you began to wonder, was this indifference power? We often assume power is loud, assertive, dominant. But what if the real power lies in withdrawal, in detachment, in the ability to not react, to not chase, to remain untouchable while you unravel in her orbit? That's when we come to Hannah Arendt. Power, she wrote, corresponds to the human ability not just to act, but to act in concert. It's not domination. It's not brute force. It's presence without begging. It's distance that commands. And many women, whether they realize it or not, wield this form of power flawlessly. Not because they want to control you maliciously, but because they learned, consciously or not, that closeness can cost more than it gives. So what happens when a woman senses that love, intimacy, or vulnerability could compromise her autonomy? She doesn't attack, she doesn't argue, she simply retreats. And the retreat becomes the message. You feel it in your gut. She's slipping away, but you don't know why. You try harder. You become softer. You offer more. But the more you give, the further she seems. This is where most men collapse inward, because they confuse emotional coldness with emotional rejection. But what if it's not rejection at all? What if it's protection? There's something deeply existential behind this pattern. A woman raised in a world where vulnerability is often exploited may see closeness as a liability. If she opens, she risks being controlled. If she stays distant, she holds the power. And that's the hidden fear behind the coldness. It's not that she doesn't feel. It's that feeling openly could mean surrendering the very autonomy she's spent her life defending. Have you felt this before? That subtle ache of loving someone who stays behind a glass wall? You see her, you feel her, but you can't touch what's real. And maybe, just maybe, she's afraid of being seen. She fears not your love, but what your love demands. To be loved is to be seen. To be seen is to be vulnerable. And to be vulnerable, for someone who's learned survival through self-containment, feels like death. So she hides, not in shadows, but in control. She builds walls not with anger, but with elegance. Polite smiles, measured replies, a calm that conceals chaos. And the more she controls the narrative, through absence, through ambiguity, the more power she feels. But here's the cruel paradox. You don't just chase her because you love her. You chase her because you feel powerless. And your mind starts to associate her detachment with value. She must be special. She must be superior. She must be worth the ache. Because if she wasn't, why would you feel so unworthy around her? It's not love you're drowning in. It's the hunger for approval, for recognition, for being chosen by someone who refuses to reach back. And every moment of distance she creates reinforces your belief that her validation would save you. This is how men fall. Not from weakness, but from need. From the hope that if they just become good enough, soft enough, perfect enough, she will finally come close. But she doesn't. Because closeness was never her goal. Control was. And control doesn't require dominance. It just needs one thing: your emotional dependency. You see, the most powerful form of control isn't manipulation. It's withdrawal. It's giving just enough to spark hope, and then pulling back before connection is complete. Not to hurt you, but to preserve herself. Because in that space of incompletion, she feels safe. She can't be touched there. She can't be changed. And she can't be hurt. This is the psychology of female coldness. It's not emptiness. It's strategy. Maybe not conscious, but deeply wired. And it's born not from cruelty, but from fear. fear of closeness, fear of losing independence, fear of being defined by your desire. So she remains the blank canvas you paint your longing on. You fill the silence with fantasy. You write poems in her pauses. You fall in love with the version of her that lives in your mind, because the real one remains unreachable. Do you feel that? That ache that never fully dies? That obsession with someone who never fully arrives? If you do, tell me in the comments. I want to hear about the woman who made you doubt yourself. The one whose silence you mistook for depth. The one who felt like home, only because she never let you in. And here's what most men never realize. Her coldness is not rejection. It's a fortress. Not against you, but against herself. Against the vulnerability that love would demand of her. Because to love is to lose control. To merge. To open. To risk being broken. And for a woman who's learned to survive through distance, that kind of surrender feels like drowning. So she chooses to be the one who watches. The one who observes. The one who never gives more than what she can take back. Because if she controls the tempo, she controls the risk. And if she stays above it all, untouched, unbothered, then she can never be wounded. But you don't see that. You don't see the fear. You see the calm, the cold, the aloofness, and you interpret it as superiority. And then, you start bending, compromising, performing. You want to be the one who melts her. The exception to her rule. The man who breaks through. Because deep down, you believe that if you can get her to choose you, it will prove your worth. But it won't. Because in that game, even if you win, you lose. You lose your balance. You lose your dignity. You lose the clarity to see that love shouldn't feel like negotiation. And here's the bitter truth. She may not even want you to win. Not out of cruelty, but out of habit. Because if you ever did win, if she ever did surrender, she might have to face the very part of herself she's been running from. The part that longs to be seen, held, known. And that is terrifying. Because what if, when she finally opens, she isn't enough? So she keeps her distance. She keeps her edge. She lets you come close enough to burn, but not enough to touch. And every time you stay, every time you try harder, you reinforce her belief that this works. That coldness is power. That emotional absence is feminine currency. That she doesn't have to open to be wanted. But love doesn't work that way. Not real love. Real love isn't about control. It's about presence. It's not about silence. It's about meeting each other in the space where neither one of you hides. And yet, here you are. Trying to be enough for someone who won't even show up. Trying to fix a puzzle that was designed never to be completed. You're not chasing love. You're chasing control too. The illusion of control. Because as long as you're the one chasing, you never have to face your own fear. The fear that maybe you're unworthy of someone who loves you freely. So you keep returning to the ones who withhold. Because deep down, you think love must be earned. That if it's easy, it must be fake. That struggle means substance. That pain means depth. But that's a lie. And until you confront that lie, you'll mistake coldness for mystery. You'll romanticize rejection. You'll chase what wounds you. But what if I told you the real test of your worth is not how much you can endure, but how much you can walk away from? What if power wasn't about conquest but clarity? Not about winning her affection, but about recognizing when affection is being weaponized? When distance isn't mystery, but manipulation? When silence isn't elegance, but escape? You see, the woman who hides behind coldness isn't always cruel. She's often just afraid. Afraid of herself. Afraid of you. Afraid of what intimacy might reveal. But your job is not to be her savior. You're not here to dig through layers of distance hoping to find something warm. You're not here to prove that your love can heal someone who refuses to even speak their wounds. Because love without reciprocity is not noble. It's self-abandonment. And no one is coming to reward you for it. So let me ask you something. Are you addicted to the chase? Do you mistake difficulty for depth? Do you fall harder for the ones who make you feel small? If you do, you're not alone. I want you to tell me in the comments. Have you ever loved someone who made you feel invisible? Someone who used silence as power? Someone whose absence became your obsession? Because that's where it begins. Not with her, with you, with your idea of love, with the belief that distance equals value, with the fear that if someone really saw you, fully, clearly, they wouldn't stay. And here's the cruel irony. The very part of you that craves connection the most is the same part that keeps chasing coldness, because coldness confirms your deepest fear. That love isn't for you, that you must earn your place, that you must be perfect, that you must suffer before you deserve softness. But you don't. You don't have to beg. You don't have to perform. You don't have to be the one who always waits, always calls, always apologizes. Because love, real love, does not require you to shrink. It invites you to stand tall, to speak truth, to stop chasing what only runs when pursued. And this is the heart of what Hannah Arendt understood. She wrote, "Power corresponds to the human ability not just to act, but to act in concert. Not alone, not in silence, but in concert, together. There is no power in a love that isolates you, that makes you doubt yourself, that pulls you in only to push you out, that keeps you addicted to longing instead of anchored in presence. Power is when both people show up, when both act, when both risk, when distance is closed not by force, but by choice. So the next time you feel that ache, that pull towards someone who makes you feel invisible, ask yourself, do I want her? Or do I just want to be chosen by someone who refuses to see me? Because sometimes, the thing you're chasing is not love. It's redemption. And the woman you think will heal you is just another mirror reflecting what you haven't faced. If that hit something in you, if that made your chest tighten, if you've lived that story, tell me. Tell me your truth in the comments. Let's speak the things no one speaks. And if this made sense to you, if this gave language to a pain you didn't know how to describe, subscribe. We need to talk more about the things that hurt in silence. Because no man deserves to spend his life chasing a love that was never real to begin with.